Hello boys and girls, a very good afternoon and welcome to this live session on 5 must follow techniques to crack the SBI PO exam in first attempt. Well, while the title talks about SBI PO exam, I'm sure these 5 techniques that we are going to look at in the next 15-20 minutes will help you not only crack the SBI PO exam but also SBI clerks or any other bank exam for that matter, right? Because these techniques are not really specific to a PO exam. These are general techniques which everybody must follow during their preparation so that they can maximize their score and boost their chances of selection for the next round, which is the main examination. So welcome you all to this session on 5 must follow techniques to crack any bank exam in your first attempt. And again, one more point, while the title says it is the first attempt, it doesn't mean that those who are in the second or third attempt need not follow these techniques or these techniques are not applicable to them, right? Everybody, in one plain line, everybody who's aspiring for a bank job or a government job for that matter, or who's appearing for any sort of competitive exam must follow these 5 techniques which can boost your score and improve your chance of selection. Well, before we get into that session or discuss about those 5 techniques, I hope all of you are doing well and your preparation for all these competitive exams is in high gear, right? You all know that the SBI PO notification was released last week, and I'm sure many of you must have also completed your application for the same. So all the very best to all of you for your preparation, and I'm sure the best of you guys will definitely make it to the next round, which is the SBI PO main examination, right? And I also always hope that you are in good health, because being healthy is very, very important, right? I think health comes first. Everything else is second, but health comes first. So keep yourselves healthy and keep preparing, because practice is the key, right? If you ask me, what is that one technique, forget about 5 techniques, what is that one technique that can help me crack any exam? I would say practice. There's no other shortcut. You have to practice so that you can reduce your imperfections, right? While generally it is said that practice makes a man perfect, I have a different opinion. I am not sure if it will make you perfect or not, but it will definitely reduce your imperfections, right? It will help you think divergently, and it will help you get the right idea at the right time. So practice is the key in one simple line, right? Anyway, we will dwell into this 5 techniques that I've thought of, but I think again, even before getting into the 5 techniques, technique number 0, or I think the most important point that all of you should follow, is to believe that you can do it, right? This is not any technique, but it is very, very important that you have to believe that you can do it. I have come across thousands of queries from students so far asking if they can crack SBI PO exam, or if they can crack an IBPS PO exam, if they can crack an exam in their first attempt. Is 3 months enough to crack any of these competitive exams, right? And to all these questions, my answer always has been very simple, right? Believe that you can do it. Because it's very simple. If you think you can, you will. If you think you cannot, you will not. As simple as that. So if any of you sitting out there has got any doubt, even the slightest of the doubt, that you will not be able to crack this exam, it's better that you stop watching this video, because it's not going to help you unless you believe that you can do it, right? So I think technique number 0, believe in yourself, right? Believe that you can do it, and I'm sure you will be able to do it. If you have slightest of the doubt there, you will not be able to prepare in the right direction, right? You will not be able to focus, right? That determination, focus, and consistency will all come only if you have the belief that you can do it, right? So guys, believe that you can crack any of these exams in the first attempt, or whenever you're going to make an attempt, all right? So that's about the start, the introduction. Let me now get into these 5 must follow techniques, right? So let's look at the first technique, technique number 1, which is to master your concepts. I'm sure many of you must be wondering that what's new about it. We all know that you have to master our concepts to be able to crack these exams. But let me tell you, when I say master concepts, I actually have a deeper meaning behind that, right? What I'm trying to tell you guys here is that mastering concepts is more important than learning shortcut formulae. I have seen this enough number of times during seminars and during live sessions that most of the students who appear for these exams believe that shortcut formulae are important, right? I'm sure many of you sitting out there also believe that shortcut formulae are very, very important to crack any exam. Yeah, I don't deny that. I agree with that point, right? Shortcuts are really important. It will help you save your time. But following only shortcut formulae or running behind shortcut formulae is not going to help you. You have to be thorough with the concept. And then you should think of a shortcut formula. Why am I stressing on this point, or why is this technique number one according to me, is because many of us actually feel that just by learning the shortcut formula, I'll be able to solve the question. But that doesn't help. Believe me guys, shortcut formulae actually do not help. And that's what I try and teach, or that's what we try and teach in all our sessions, that don't run behind the shortcut formula. You may or may not be able to recollect, right? I'm sure many of you must have experienced this, right? When you actually go into the exam and you look at a particular question, you feel excited about it, that yes, I have solved this during my practice. There is a formula for this. But the very next second, the problem is you are unable to recall the formula. And that's where it gets spoiled, right? You are not able to recall the formula. The slightest doubt that was there a plus or a minus sign in that formula will create the confusion, and you end up wasting your time, right? So shortcut, in my view, don't really help. What you have to master is the concept. And given the type of questions that are being asked in exams these days, right? I'm sure it's not a news anymore. You know that the difficulty level is only going up, especially when it comes to the SBI exams, right? SBI PO examination. So given the kind of questions that are being asked, shortcut is not going to be useful anymore, right? Those questions cannot be answered just by application of one formula. There's a whole lot of analysis that needs to be done, be it a question from data interpretation or arithmetic aptitude, or let's say reasoning. Reasoning, of course, since the beginning has been like a lot of analysis, there are no formulae. But importantly, when it comes to quantitative aptitude, questions cannot be answered just by using a formula these days, right? And this is not just true in case of IBPS, SBI PO, but also in case of IBPS exams. Okay, so learn the shortcut formula. Again, let me get it clear again. I am not saying you should not learn the shortcut formula. You should learn the shortcut formula, but depending just on the formula is a definite no-no, is a strict no-no, right? Guys, master your concept so that you can solve convoluted questions. You can solve those indirect questions where formula cannot be applied, right? You can solve questions even when you are not able to recall the formula. Okay, so I think technique number one is to master the concepts, be it concepts from quantitative aptitude, be it concepts of data interpretation, be it the concepts of reasoning, or for that matter, English language, right? In English language also, while it's vast, they can ask you anything under English, like synonyms or antonyms are like endless, right? There's no end to it. But there are certain concepts which upon mastery can help you answer questions better. All right, and I'm sure Sylvia, who's my friend at TalentSprint, truly believes in that, and she also tries to teach the same thing to her students, that it's not about just mugging up things, right? Mugging up things alone is not the right way to do it, right? So master the idea so that you can solve questions even in difficult situations. Okay, so that's technique number one, master your concepts. Right? Let's now move on to technique number two, right? Let's look at what is technique two. Technique two is choose wisely. I'm sure many of you again must have heard of this or have used this already. But for those who have never come across something like this, let me spend a couple of minutes to explain this. While choose wisely may look like a simple technique, let me give you the point which makes it an out-of-the-box technique. Remember, I am a true believer of the idea that skipping the question is one of the best techniques to answer the question, especially when it comes to the section of reasoning ability, right? You talk about shortcut formula, right? In technique number one, we have discussed that you should not be following shortcut formula, or you should not depend on shortcut formula. But one shortcut that I want all of you to depend on is to learn to skip questions. The one reason why many of us fail to get a better score in the exam is because we think we have to answer all the questions, but that's not the fact. Remember, you don't have to answer all the questions in the exam. If you go to the examination with the mindset that there are 100 questions, I have to solve all the 100, then you are setting yourselves up for failure. You know that in a time limited exam where we have only 60 minutes to answer 100 questions, you will not be able to solve all the 100 questions. You should be solving the easiest ones first. Remember, it's like a game of cricket, right? Of the 6 balls that will be bowled to you, you have to find out the loose ones and convert them into boundaries. It's like a T20 game, right? It's not a test match. Your preliminary examination is a T20 match. It's not a test match where you have enough time to kind of hold the balls or take it easy, just skip it and all that. Okay? You have to get your score ringing, right? The score bell ringing. So for that to happen, you have to be very, very careful, right? Now, the point I'm trying to make is you should know how to choose your questions wisely. Now, when I say that, what I actually mean is you should know how to leave your questions wisely. Okay, many of us, believe me, many of us fail in these exams or fail to score more in these exams because we get stuck in the difficult ones, because we get stuck in those questions which were not supposed to be attempted. Now, you all know, if I have to give you a particular example, you all know that in the reasoning ability section of bank exams, the most common question is puzzles, right? Seating arrangements, circular puzzle or a linear puzzle, linear arrangement, circular arrangement, a floor-based puzzle where you have to arrange 8-9 people on 8-9 different floors and find out what is the favorite color of each of these persons or favorite sport of each of these persons or whatever the variable there is, right? The best way to attempt these questions in my view is not to attempt those questions. Just skip and move to the next one. Skip the question and move to the next one. And skip is the shortcut, right? And my belief in this particular technique has only gotten reinforced when I meet our successful students who come back and tell me that what you actually said was right. Right? I skipped a lot of questions and I could get to good scores. Many of you may not be able to digest this fact if you are listening to this for the first time, that how can we get a good score or how can we better our scores by skipping questions? But the point is true. You will get a better score if you know how to skip questions, if you know how to skip questions and if you know which questions to be skipped. And this cannot be done just in a day, right? It requires a lot of practice. So when you're practicing for your SBI PU exam today, or any other exam for that matter, you should start practicing this technique as well. What is the technique? Choose wisely. Choose your questions wisely. Skip the difficult ones, right? Skip the ones where there is no method to arrive at the answer. First, try and solve those questions where there is a definite method, where you can apply a, let's say, a step-by-step process, or where you can apply a formula to get the answer, right? Questions where there is no guarantee have to be skipped. Now, I am actually not asking you to skip it forever, right? I don't say that don't try it at all. Leave it for that moment. Solve the other questions first and then come back. Now, with recent changes in the exam, you know that in the reasoning ability section, you will be given only 20 minutes. In these 20 minutes, you will have to attempt 35 questions. Will you be able to solve all the 35 questions? No. Ask that question to me. Rohit, will you be able to solve all the 35 questions? My answer is no. I will not be able to solve all the 35 questions. But I have to solve as many questions as possible. So if I am writing the exam, I would make sure that I attempt the easiest ones first. I attempt those questions where there is a method to arrive at the answer, like blood relations, like directions, like syllogism, like coded inequalities, right? Like questions on alphabet. I would not attempt questions on coding and decoding, because coding and decoding has got, infinite logic behind it, and infinite number of logic behind it. Or I would not attempt arrangement based questions immediately. I would not attempt questions based on number series when it comes to quantitative aptitude. I would not attempt questions based on reading comprehension when it comes to English language, because I don't know how much of time these questions are going to take. I may or may not get the answer. So I'll choose the other ones where there is a definite way to arrive at the answer. And that's why I say the technique number 2 is choose wisely. Choose your questions wisely, and this needs practice. It's not a simple technique. You have to practice from day one to be able to choose the right questions during the examination. Let's now move on to technique number 3. The technique number 3 here, as you all can see, is avoid paperwork. Avoid paperwork. Now, what does this mean? Avoid paperwork? Well, this is actually more relevant to quantitative aptitude, but it is also applicable for many other sections like reasoning ability and English language as well. Now, what does it mean, avoid paperwork? See, all of you know that time management is critical when it comes to these exams, right? Time is limited. You cannot waste your time in doing stupid stuff there, right? Every second counts. Every second is valuable, right? Sometimes a few seconds extra can get you the job, or a few seconds less can snatch your job from your hands, right? It's that critical. It's like gold, right? Time is like gold in that sense, in literal sense here. So in such a case, you have to avoid paperwork as much as possible. Now, why am I considering this as technique number 3? Why is this technique number 3? Because I have seen students who could have actually got, let's say, a score of X, but ended up getting only 0.8X or something less than X because of paperwork. Why do they do it? Do they do it intentionally? No, they don't do it intentionally. It is because of that habit, right? Students have been doing paperwork for donkey's years now, right? I mean, since their childhood, we have been writing on paper, right? We have been taught how to write. That's the first thing that we are taught in school, right? Writing, right? Maybe these days they say draw a standing line, sleeping line and all that stuff. But then the point is, we have done enough paperwork in the entire schooling and high school and intermediate and then in our college. And it has now become a habit. It was good then, but now it's playing a negative role. It's playing a negative role, right? And because of this bad habit, I can term it a bad habit now, we are not able to score more. We are not able to score more. Now, how does this act in your examination? Understand. Because of this bad habit, we are used to writing everything on paper now. So we end up writing even the silliest of the things on paper. Even the simplest and the most redundant things on paper. I am not saying don't write at all. Write only what is required. What is wrong is when you write something that is not required, when you write something which is redundant. And I'll spend maybe 2-3 minutes to explain this whole idea to you. It is really funny if you try it yourself, right? Just imagine, rewind and see how you do your calculation, right? Like for example, when you have to multiply, let's say, for example, some two numbers, random numbers, 84 and 63, let's say 84 has to be multiplied by 63. Right? 84 has to be multiplied by 63. If you follow the technique, if you know the concept, if you know the speed math techniques, you can multiply 84 and 63 without paper, in a jiffy. Well, not in a jiffy, but 2-3 seconds. You can multiply 84, 63 and get the result in about 3 seconds or at best 5 seconds, which I am sure you will learn through our videos, not a problem. But then understand what happens when you do it on paper, right? What happens when you do it on paper? You will first write 84, then you will write 63. Yes or no? If you are to do on paper, the first thing that you'll do is 84 and below that we'll write 63 because that's the first step. Now by the time you write 84 and 63, you have actually spent 2 seconds. And these 2 seconds are going waste. Why? You haven't done anything. You have only copied the question again. You know that 84 should be multiplied by 63, you're writing that on paper. Now that's fine. For multiplication, numbers have to be written. The problem comes now. Imagine, I'm not writing it here, I'm just trying to do it in air, but imagine many of us, after writing 84 and 63, we put that into sign. You write 84, you write 63 and then you put that into sign. What is the importance of that multiplication sign? Somebody explain. It has got no importance. It is absolutely redundant. It is that bad habit. What is the idea? See, when we were in school, that multiplication sign was important. We were taught to do that yes, you're going to multiply these two numbers, so put that multiplication sign. But why is it important now? Why is it important now? Now you may say that putting that into sign takes only half a second or less than half a second. Yes, I agree. But why are you spending that time? It's a waste of time. Can you not avoid that? Yes, I can draw a dollar sign and I can multiply. I can put a rupee symbol and I can multiply. I can draw a smiley there and I can still multiply. It's not that in the middle of the calculation, we forget whether we are doing multiplication or addition. So we look at that sign and recollect. Oh, multiplication, right? Let me continue. That doesn't happen. It's a waste of time. It's an absolute waste of time. Now, again, some of you might be happy about the fact that yes, I don't put that into sign, so I am saving my time. I'm a good student, all right? I'm a time saver. I'm not putting that into sign, right? Fine. You're not putting that into sign. Next comes the problem. What is the problem? You have written 84, you have written 63, you have put that into sign, and now you draw a line. I wish I had that setup in place where I could write and explain it to you, right? You draw a line. That's a waste of time. Tell me the importance of that line that we draw. What does it mean? Nothing. Presentation. That presentation was required when we were in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th standard, 9th standard. There we were awarded marks for that. But now it's a time killer. You're drawing that line only to indicate that whatever you have written above that is the question, and now you're going to do the solution. It's a waste of time. Again, you may argue that it takes only half a second. I agree, but why are you wasting that half a second in doing something as rubbish as drawing a straight line? No, not required. And then you do all that calculation, right? 3 into 4, 3 into 8, 6 into 4, 6 into 8, arrive at the numbers there. Again, there also one more into sign has to be put. After unit space multiplication, we have to do the tens multiplication. So you displace it by one position, right? You put another into sign. Some people put a 0. Fine, all these are waste of time. Another problem, now you draw one more line. What is the meaning of this line? That the rough work is over, now I am going to write the final answer. Just think of this, think of this. You are doing this. Multiply two numbers on paper, you will realize that half of the stuff that you put on paper is actually presentation. Are you going to get awarded for presentation? This is not an interview where presentation is important, right? It's a competitive exam, it's a T20 match, right? You can't waste your time putting things on paper. And then you add those two rows of numbers to get the final answer, right? 84 into 63. Yes or no? You add those two rows of numbers to get the final answer. Is it over there? After getting the final answer, after adding the two rows, is it over? No. Last piece, you have to draw one more line at the bottom. Think of that. I'm sure many of you might be laughing on yourself, right? Oh yeah, I do this. It's the fact. You draw that last line. And that line, you know, what does it indicate? So far we have understood. The first line that you drew was to segregate the question and the rough work. The second line that you drew was to segregate the rough work with the final answer. You know what is this third line for? This third line is that sense of achievement. Yes. You know that, yes, I've got the answer. This is the final answer. Waste of time. Waste of time. Learn ways to multiply 84 with 63 without paper, and you can do that. Let me tell you, you can do that. It's not rocket science. Watch speed math videos, you will know how to multiply. Of course, if let's say 1473 has to be multiplied by 6584, you better do it on paper. There it makes sense, but not for things where it's not required. Similarly in reasoning, right? Don't write unnecessary things on paper. Like I came across a student a few years ago actually. You know, what did he say? I asked him, what do you do in the exam? His response was that, you know, as soon as I go to the examination, the first thing that I do is on the paper, I write A to Z, all the letters of the English alphabet, and then I write 1 to 26. Because there are a lot of questions in reasoning where you need to know the numerical position of the letters in the English alphabet. He says, I do this, and see, I'm so smart. Then when I have to solve the questions, I just turn my rough sheet and look at which letter is what numerical position. It's nothing but sheer waste of your precious time there. It took me only 15 to 20 minutes to make him learn all the numerical positions. How much time does it take? There are 26 letters and 26 numbers. You just have to map them. Half of them you already know. A, B, C, D you know are 1, 2, 3, 4. X, Y, Z are 24, 25, 26. Right? Out of 26, 7, 8 are gone. Only 20 more letters. Learn the numerical positions. Now, I'm not saying that you guys do it. But there could be a few of you who have these kind of stupid ideas. It is a stupid idea. Let me tell you, it's a stupid idea if you are trying to do something like this. Do not put pen on paper unless it is really required. Unless it is really required. Right? Writing the question again, you know, you take pieces of question and put it on paper. And then you add. Like another example I would like to give. There is a question which is based on simple interest. Principal is given, time period is given, rate of interest is given. You are required to calculate the simple interest. You know how to get the answer. I mean, I generally don't believe in formulae. So if you watch our videos, you would know that we don't solve simple interest using PTR by 100. We have a better conceptual technique which helps you get the answer faster. But let's say even if you want to use the formula, SI equals to PTR by 100, the problem is not the formula. The problem is that you write the formula on paper. When you look at the question, the first thing you write is SI equals to P into T into R by 100. Then you will substitute P and T and R from the question. Now this PTR by 100 that you have written in 3 seconds of your time is waste of your time again. Directly substitute the values. You know P, you know T, and you know R. Put those values and do the calculation. First of all, why do you have to do the calculation on paper is a big question. But even if you have to do, let's say in the worst case, don't waste your time by writing the formula that you already know. It's there in your head. Don't put it on paper. So whatever can be kept in your head, try to keep it there. Don't reproduce it on paper and waste your time. So avoid paperwork. And same is the case when it comes to English language also, right? I'm sure we do things which are not really required. So please avoid paperwork. Unless you do that, you will not be able to maximize your score. You will get a good score, I'm sure. But for you to go from good to better, or for you to better your scores, you got to avoid paperwork. So avoid paperwork. Write it only if it is really required. Otherwise, don't write anything on paper. So that's technique number 3. I think I've spent a lot of time already on that particular technique, but I think it's very, very important. And unless you do it from day one, you will not be able to implement it in the exam. It's very, very difficult to implement. Okay. So cut down the paperwork, right? The more you write on paper, the more time it takes. All right. And be very happy if you're not doing it already. Congratulations in advance. But if you are doing it, there's a lot of practice that you need to do to avoid that. Okay. Let's now go to technique number 4, which is practice right. Practice right. Now, what does this mean? Now, this is something really new, which I have never told so far in my earlier such sessions. And this is new because of a recent change that we had seen in the IBPS clerks examination. Now, I actually have 2 parts in this whole technique, right? When I say practice right, it's very, very important with this recent change that took place in the IBPS clerks exam. But let me explain you about the 2 parts. Part number 1 is to practice in the right interface. You know that the bank exams have gone online. SBI PO will be an online exam. So there are other interface, other people who are doing it. So you can, you must practice in that interface so that you don't find anything new on the day of the exam. Now tomorrow, if SBI itself changes its interface, it will be a surprise for all of us and we can't be prepared for it. But then take practice online, right? Take online tests so that you get used to it. So that's part number 1, which is over. Part number 2 is very, very important. Part number 2 is new. Right? You might be wondering, part 1 we already know, part number 2 is new. Now what is this part 2? Before I get into that, let me again ask you guys to go back a few years. Imagine when we were only allowed to use a pencil in our school, right? Only pencil was allowed. We were supposed to write on pencil. And I remember when the first time, when I graduated from, I think, class 5 to class 6, we were allowed to use pens. Now we were like, senior students, right? You can use pens. Pen has to be used for writing. Okay. Until that standard, we were all using pencils. I don't know if it was class 5 to class 6 or class 3 to class 4, whichever the case is. But when you first graduated from using a pencil to a pen, it was difficult. Yes or no? It was difficult to write with a pen. While you know how to write, writing with a pencil is a completely different experience compared to writing with a pen. Yeah. Similarly, when this is again a personal example, when I first started teaching, right, I used to have this blackboard and I used to use chalk piece, right, a piece of chalk to write things and explain it to students. That was again a different experience, because just because you know how to write with a pen doesn't mean that you'll be able to write with a piece of chalk, right? That needs more practice. Then there came a stage in my life when we started using whiteboards. I'm talking about those days when we used to teach in classroom, right? So there is a whiteboard and a marker. I always used to be excited about it, that okay, we should also start using it, because chalk paste is very dusty and it gets your hand dirty and all, not very good feel, right? Unless you're using dustless chalks or whatever. Now, when we had to use this whiteboard and marker, while I was very excited, the first day I was not able to teach in the class. The day 1, when I was thrown in a class with a nice whiteboard and a marker, while I was excited, the first sentence that I started writing, I was like, okay, there's something new that's happening to me. I'm not able to write. Because the feel itself has changed, right? It's very smooth. It's very, very good. It doesn't get your hands dirty. But keeping all these factors aside, it is the first day that I am writing with a marker on a whiteboard. And I was not able to do it. It took me at least 3, 4, 5 days to get used to that whiteboard and a marker. And I used to practice outside my class hours so that it looks neat in the class when I do it. Now with all these examples, what I'm hinting at is suddenly when there is a change, it's difficult to adopt to it. While you are ready for it, you are anticipating that change, you want to see that change, you are actually not ready for it. And you will experience it on one particular day and you will find that you are not comfortable. How is this related to your examination? Well, I have been told in that in the recent IBPS clerks exam, something like this happened. A change was introduced and students were not ready for it. Those who all had appeared in the IBPS clerks exam or those who know about it must have got to know what I'm hinting at. But the change was this. Up until last year, we were given rough sheets. When you go for the exam, you were given rough sheets. You are supposed to carry your pen and do all the paperwork on those rough sheets, right? You are given 2-3 sheets. If required, you can take more sheets and all that, right? And you can practice. And you have always practiced using pen and paper during your preparation. So it's easy for you to do that rough work because there's nothing new, right? There's nothing new. But the change that was brought in the IBPS clerks exam was this. Now all of you must be wondering, what is this? Well, this is a piece of cloth. What did they do? They gave all the candidates this piece of cloth. Not to wipe out the sweat, right? Because you are under pressure. Not for that. Well, you can actually use it for that as well, but the reason was different. This piece of cloth was given along with this sketch pen. A pen, basically. And with this, what was given is this sheet. This is not a white A4 paper. This is a laminated A4 paper. What's the idea? You will be given one piece of paper like this with a sketch pen and a piece of cloth. Do your rough work on this. When this is full of writing, full of ink, use this piece of cloth in cleaning that and reuse it. Believe me, while all of us have used sketch pen in the past, all of us know how to use this tool in cleaning. Doing it in an exam where you have only 60 minutes for attempting 100 questions and your job is at stake, it becomes very complex. And remember, you're working under pressure. There's a lot of pressure. There are hundreds of students sitting along with you in that hall. It becomes difficult. Any change there makes it very difficult. Right? I mean, you must have heard when you go for an interview, right? Usually experts say that when you go for interview, never wear anything new. Whether it's a new shirt or a new trouser or new socks or anything, you should not be wearing anything which is new, or new shoes, new footwear, not allowed. Why? Because while it's new and you might be excited that I'll be wearing a very nice and neat shirt, you're not used to it, and that can cause discomfort, which you are not prepared for during the interview, and it can spoil your performance. So this is what actually happened in the IBPS clerks examination. Now look at the whole experience. You have been practicing with a pen, but writing with a pen and writing with a sketch pen is different. So now if you have to do rough work on paper, you do this: 2 plus 2 equals to 4. I hope you don't do this on paper, right? 2 plus 2 equals to 4, we all know. But let's say you want to do this. I could have actually shown that whole drama that I did a few seconds back, right? So this is the problem. Now you see, some students actually complained that the sketch pens were not writing, and everybody complained that it was not cleaning properly. So maybe because this is different, but it cleans better. So you have to multiply this 83 and 64. I hope you're able to see this, right? 84 has to be multiplied by 63. You put a cross mark. This is what I was talking about, right? It's a waste of time. You draw this line. This line is a waste of time. 4 into 3, 12. 4 into 8, 32 plus 1, 33. One more into mark, which is a waste of time. 6 into 3, 18 with 1 carry forward. This writing 1 is a waste of time. 6 into 8, 48 plus 1, 49. It's a waste of time. Drawing this line is again a waste of time. And then 2, this is 8 and 3, 11, this is 13 and 5, 3, 1, 2. And drawing this final line is again a waste of time, right? You're happy you've got the answer, but all this is a waste of time. And the challenge is not this. The challenge is you have to clean this right, and get ready for doing the remaining part of the work. And in all this process, your hands get dirty. And people who are fetish about clean hands and clean palms like me will really find it very, very difficult. I mean, I can't just write anything when the hand gets dirty, right? When the hand gets spoiled there. Anyway, so you'll not worry about that hand getting dirty in the exam, I'm sure, but this is a whole new experience. Now, let me make it very clear, a disclaimer. I am not sure if SBI will follow this process. It was in IBPS clerks. They may or may not follow. Right? They may or may not follow the same process in the SBI clerks examination or SBI PO examination. But in case they follow, it is better that you are prepared with this. And the only way to get ready for this is to practice in this fashion. Well, you may not practice every day on this, but start doing something like this. All you have to do is take a A4 piece of paper, go to the market, get it laminated. This piece of cloth should be available in your home, and buy a sketch pen, which also must be available in your home, right? In high probability, and then start practicing it. You have to get used to it. Again, I am repeating, they may not follow this process. They may actually give you rough sheets again with a pen, which is sure, which is not a discomfort in any way, right? Because you have done that for years together now, right? You have used paper and pen for so many years that it's not going to be new to you. But this is definitely new to you. So I think if you want to get ahead of others, if you want to have that advantage, you should practice. Again, this should not become your primary focus, but at least practice for good enough time that you are used to it, right? Another challenge which some of our students faced is in those circular arrangements, right? You have to draw a circle, mark those 8 positions, you write A here, you write B there, right? And when you're writing something else, other things are getting erased because of your hand movement and all that on the sheet, right? It's not permanent marker, right? I mean, it will get erased. It sticks with your hand and it gets erased on the sheet of paper. And you're like again confused. What did I write there? Did I write A or B? And you have to restart. Who's going to deal with all this problem in the exam, right? So hopefully SBI doesn't follow it. But in case they follow, you have no right to complain. All you have to do is use it. So better get prepared for it. So that's what I mean when I say practice right. One is practice in the right interface, which I'm sure all of you have access to. It's not a big deal, but get this new tool, the new technology that SBI or IBPS is using. You know why they're doing it. I mean, I don't want to comment on all the political issues there, the political reasons behind that, but I'm sure all of you understand why this was introduced. So for whatever reasons this was introduced, this has been there in place. So make sure that you're better ready for it. Okay, so practice right is very, very important. And let me quickly go into technique number 5, which is to analyze your performance, or rather performances. Now this again is important. I have seen a lot of students complain that I am practicing so much, I have taken so many mock tests, I take one mock test every day, but still my performance is not improving. My score is only going down. In the last mock test I scored 63, this mock test I scored 48. So I am actually showing a negative improvement, or whatever it is called, right? My performance is going down. It's not going north, it's going south. In my view, that's not something you should be worried about, right? When I say analyze performance, what I'm trying to say here is many of us believe that by practicing more and more. In fact, I also made the same statement. My opening statement in this session was practice is the best shortcut. The more you practice, the easier it gets. But then many of us believe that just practicing more and more mock tests will take my score up, which is largely true, but not 100% true. Especially with those guys who find that their scores are dipping, who find that there is no improvement. Because more than taking the mock exam, what is important is analyzing your performance in the mock exam, right? Remember, for you to really get ready for the exam, you should build a strategy. Just preparation alone is not going to help. You have to have your own strategy. Like when they go for a match, they have a strategy, right? A cricket match, the captain and the team members have a strategy for any kind of situation. You also have to build a strategy. And how will that strategy come into force or come into place? Only when you have tried various things during your practice, when you're taking these mock exams. So more than taking the mock exam, what is important is analyzing your performance in the mock exam. Like for example, the SBI PO preliminary examination is for 1 hour duration, 60 minutes, right? If you're taking 1 hour to take the mock exam I would suggest that you spend, if not more, at least 2 hours to analyze your performance. Now, what do I mean by analyzing your performance here? Just looking at the score or section level score is not enough. You have to actually rewind the whole process that you had done in the exam. You spend 1 hour, right? Now, after the results are declared, when you get to know your scores, right, sit back and check what did you do in that 20 minutes of your quantitative aptitude. Now, when you're analyzing those 20 minutes of your quantitative aptitude, right, it takes more time to see. You are kind of you have to dissect every single minute there and analyze, right? In the first 1 minute, I think I tried this problem. It actually took 2 minutes for me, but there is a way to improve this. You understand that level of analysis. That level of analysis have to be done, not just looking at the scores and all. Unless you do that, you will not be able to improve, right? For me, the problem is not when your score has come down from 63 to 48. You should not panic when your score has come down from 63 to 48. You should panic when you find that you have repeated the mistake which you did in the past. When you took the first practice test in the SBI PO prelims format, you made these 2-3 mistakes. If any of these 2-3 mistakes repeat in any of your performance going forward, then you are not fit for the exam. Then you are in a wrong direction. Are you able to follow? So don't worry when your score is coming down. Don't worry about this, the so-called hoopla about the cutoff score, right? Don't worry about that. It's not in your control. What is in your control is your performance. What is in your control is to avoid any of the mistakes that you have done in today's exam. So analyzing performance becomes a key, right? Understand, if it is a 1 hour exam, sit back and spend at least 1 hour in analyzing the whole performance. You have to completely kind of split into parts and check what has happened. And I am sure with technology in place, you have enough tools to analyze. I mean, you don't have to manually do it. Like for example, we have TIA at TalentSprint, right? TIA is our digital learning advisor for our students. So TIA will tell you how much time you spend per question, right? In what sequence you have attempted questions, in how much time you have spent per question. And that is itself is a great metric to be verified, right? TIA will tell you that this question number 23 from quantitative aptitude that you have solved, you have got it right, congratulations. But you got the right answer in 72 seconds. On an average, students who got the same question correct, they spent only 49 seconds. That tells you something. Don't be happy about getting the right answer. You have to be worried that what you took 72 seconds to get to, others have taken only 49 seconds. So there is something that can be done there. And make sure that you get the answer at a faster rate next time when something like that comes up in the exam. That is what I mean when I say analyze your performance. And doing all this will take time. It will take at least 1 hour of the same examination time for you to come to a conclusion. So don't worry when you find your scores going up and down during your preparation, during your mock test. Okay? You make sure that you spend enough time in analysis and do not repeat your mistakes. I think what is more important is don't repeat your mistakes. Okay? And try different strategies. I think like for example, a strategy cannot be generalized, right? What works for you may not work for me. What works for me may not work for somebody else, right? It cannot be the same strategy that works for all of us. So which one is going to work for you? You have to decide based on your own strengths and weaknesses. And how will you decide what is your strength and what is your weakness? Through this detailed analysis of your performances that you do. Okay? So analyze performance, analyze all your performance is going to be a very, very important piece that can help you improve your score in the exam, in the real exam, and boost your chance of selection. So I think that's technique number 5. And the last technique, let me quickly rewind all the 5 techniques for you and explain what have we discussed so far. So I think the summary of this session is this: the 5 must follow techniques to crack these bank exams, right, or rather to boost your score in the examination are these. Number 1, master the concepts. Don't run behind the shortcut formula. Number 2, choose wisely, right? Remember, skip is a very, very important technique. Skipping the questions is one of the best shortcuts that you can apply, especially when it comes to sections of reasoning ability and English language, where there are no direct methods to get the answers, right? So choosing your question wisely is very important. Number 3 here is avoid paperwork. We have had a detailed discussion about why to avoid paperwork. So remember, the more you put on paper, the more time it takes. So cut down the paperwork and boost your chance of selection. Number 4 is practice right. Now practice right here has got two components: practice using the right interface, which is similar to the real exam interface, so that you get used to it, and practice using that laminated A4 sheet with a piece of cloth and a sketch pen, so that in case the same is followed in your upcoming exams, you are used to it. Okay. Remember, I'm not sure if it will be followed or not, right? I'm giving a disclaimer. They may again get back to the whole old fashion of rough sheets and pen, but in case they have this new thing coming up for you, you should be prepared for it. Okay, so practice right is very, very important. And number 5, last but not the least, in fact the most important one, is to analyze your performances. Just giving practice tests is not going to be helpful, right? More than the mock test, what is important is the post mock test analysis that you do. It's like a post-mortem, right? It's actually the post-mortem that you have to do. So after your performance, do the post-mortem of your performance and find out what is going wrong, and find out what can be done to get your scores better in the next examination, and make sure that you don't repeat your mistakes. All right, so with this, I think I'm done with this 5 must follow techniques for your 5 must follow techniques which can help you boost your scores and improve your chance of selection in the upcoming exams. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I see a lot of you in the chat here. If there are any questions that you have, I'll quickly take it up in the next 5 minutes, and then we can wind it up. But anyways, thank you all for joining us. I hope all of you have liked the session. Please share your valuable feedback, and do share these sessions with your friends and other fellow students who are appearing for these exams. And let me know if you have any questions. Any subject related questions or subject related techniques we shall discuss when we do the sessions next week, right? I mean, we'll continue to do such sessions every week for all of you. So don't ask subject related questions now, right? Let's stick to the concept of understanding the strategy kind of techniques, right? So I think here we have Sashikant Mohanty, who says, can you start any session for any subject? Well, we will be doing it very soon. You will get to know about it through our calendars, right? The events calendar that we have. Somebody says, how to get your classes? Pankaj Ojha. Pankaj, I think there has been a constant scroll that's happening here, right? So we have what is called a free coaching for all these exams, where we have a lot of free videos available for you, weekly live classes, practice tests, some already mock exams, and downloadable ebooks which you can access. So just try and explore that, right? You don't have to pay anything for this, right? You just have to visit the website talentsprint.com/SBIPO, talentsprint.com/SBIPO, register yourself and get access to some free material there. I'm sure it will be a good starting point, irrespective of what you're doing now. I mean, if you're already enrolled in a coaching institute or not, if you're learning only through YouTube videos, if you're learning only through books, all right, if you're already done with your coaching and now just practicing yourself, or if you're not sure whether you'll be able to crack these exams or not, whatever be the case, whichever category you belong to, I think this free coaching is a must. So just visit talentsprint.com/SBIPO and look at what TalentSprint's platform has got for you, right? Of course, there are upgrade options available. The TalentSprint students have a lot of other advantages when compared to this free coaching, but it's a must if you don't have access to it already. Neeraj, I have Neeraj here, who is actually our student, who says this cloth seems to be used by, it has already kind of got a little dirty because I tried using it here, right? He says this cloth seems to be used by Ramu Kaga. It's actually like that, just imagine you are sitting in the examination with this piece of cloth like this, you're writing it and then you have to clean the sheet of paper and put it back here, right? And then again do the rough work. Whenever the sheet is full, again bring it back and clean it. I mean, I think we'll have to do it. You should not be wasting even 1 second in finding out where the piece of cloth is, right? I mean, it's fallen somewhere on the ground and put the cloth here and be like, not trying to stereotype it, but be like Ramu Kaka, what Neeraj says, right? Or maybe if you have seen those, I mean, this is just for the fun part of it, right? But if you have seen those carpenters, right, when they are working, they have this pen or pencil stuck on their ear. So maybe you do that. It's easy access, right? So the cloth is on one hand, the pen is easily accessible, and use it whenever you have to use. You should not be like, oh, where is the pen, where is the cloth in the exam, okay? Anyways, jokes apart, you should use this cloth, get used to it. I mean, I'm sure guys and girls who do dusting at home would know how to use it, but others have to get used to it. Okay. Anything else? Postmortem. Yes, I talked about postmortem. Hemant Shankla here says, I mean, he's just mentioned postmortem. I don't know what he's trying to say, but yeah, you have to do the postmortem of your performance, right? Postmortem of your performance is very, very important. Is there any test series by TalentSprint? Well, Puneet, visit talentsprint.com/SBIPO, get our free coaching. There are free tests available for you. You can try those out. Yeah. Anything else? Somebody says Ramu Kaka was fun. Ramu Kaka was fun, but you know, we have to behave like the Ramu Kaka during the examination at least, so that we do this cleaning part effectively. Yeah. All right, so I think I can close it here. Thank you so much for joining us in this session. We will do more such live sessions every week. You all have to just stay tuned. I think my sincere advice to all of you is to visit the website talentsprint.com/SBIPO and enroll for the free coaching. You will get to know about our free live classes and the free videos that we upload there, so that you don't miss out on anything, right? So do try out the free coaching and explore what TalentSprint has for you. I'm sure you will find it useful. And please do follow these 5 techniques that we have discussed. It may look a little strange to a few of you, but these really help you in the exam, right? More than the shortcut formula, I think these 5 techniques would help you. I think it's back on the screen for those who have missed it anyway. Master the concepts, choose questions wisely, avoid paperwork, practice right, and last but not the least is to analyze your performances. On that note, let me close it here. Thank you once again. Keep practicing and take very good care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next session. Bye.